The anime begins with Takashi skipping his second period class. He sits alone, sulking about his childhood crush, Rei, who once promised to marry him, but after she was held back a grade, they had a fight and she began dating his best friend. Then Takagi walks in, scolding him for ditching class while leaning close, her body jiggling like jelly. Takashi retorts by pointing out that she is not in class either. Takagi defends herself, stating she is smart, unlike him, whom she calls imbecile scum. Her words hit a nerve, and Takashi asks why she always acts that way. Takagi shrugs, saying she hates people who do not realize how stupid they are. She continues ranting, but Takashi zones out his thoughts elsewhere, which annoys her, and she leaves. He still remembers when Rei told him she had been giving him signs of her affection, but he never noticed, and she grew tired of waiting. Just then, a loud crash echoes from the school's front gate, where a strange man is slamming his head against it. Four teachers rush out. One of them, Miss Hayashi, blessed with an oversized bust, tries to talk him down. When the man does not respond, Taijima, a male teacher, steps in to restrain him. Just as he gains control, the man bites him. Mr. Taijima collapses, and as the others rush to help, he grabs Miss Hayashi's neck and bites her too. Having witnessed everything, Takashi runs into the building, thinking only of Rei, and he does not care about being yelled at for skipping as he must find her. When he does, Rei's new boyfriend, Hisashi, is already with her. Hisashi asks what's happening, and Takashi bluntly states that someone just died at the gate. Rei tries to argue, but Takashi smacks her hard, snapping him back to reality, and they decide to run. Takashi explains everything he saw, and the three scramble to find anything usable as weapons. Clinging to normalcy, Rei tries calling her father a cop, but the police line is jammed. Then the school's emergency broadcast activates. The teacher's voice announces that violence has broken out and staff need to evacuate students. But before he can finish, a horrifying noise cuts him off, broadcasting his brutal death live over the microphone, causing widespread panic. Hisashi suggests they head to the rooftop instead of the stairs, as the stairwells are packed with panicked students, making them a death trap. On the bridge to the rooftop, they encounter a teacher who is turned. He lunges at Rei, who freezes in fear as he tries to bite her chest. Hisashi yells at her to fight, and she stabs him through the chest, but even with a pierced heart, the teacher keeps moving, pushing Rei down into a perfect position to feast. Hisashi grabs the man by the neck to save his lover, but the teacher twists and sinks his teeth into Hisashi's arm. Rei stabs him again from behind to no avail, until Takashi realizes the truth. The teacher is already dead, driven only by hunger. Rei screams, desperately trying to yank the monster off her boyfriend, and begging Takashi for help. Fueled by adrenaline, Takashi charges and decapitates the teacher. Rei does not thank him, instead racing to Hisashi, who insists he is fine, but then more screams echo from inside as the infection spreads rapidly. They reach the rooftop and see the city in chaos and death. Helicopters fly overhead, but none stop to help. Inside the school, students are being devoured, and some kill themselves before they can turn. On the rooftop, Takashi accepts this is like a horror movie. They have no idea how it started, but survival is their only option. They run, evading and attacking the undead, but on the staircase, Rei tries to play hero and is thrown into a wall. Hisashi moves quickly to save her, and the trio barricades themselves in. By late afternoon, as the sun dips, Hisashi begins to change, blood spilling from his mouth. Rei refuses to believe it, but Takashi tells her to face reality. Barely conscious, Hisashi begs Takashi to end him before he turns, not wanting to become one of them. Rei clings to hope, but her prayers are pointless as Hisashi dies, his eyes going cold, before he rises as something else entirely. Gripping his weapon tightly, Takashi aims for one shot, and despite Rei's pleas, he does what must be done. Afterward, with Hisashi lifeless, Rei goes mad, saying she would have preferred to die with him rather than live with Takashi, accusing him of acting out of jealousy. Takashi shows no reaction and after hearing her hurtful words, walks toward the barricade and starts dismantling it. Rei asks what he is doing, and he says he is doing what she wants by leaving, but she begs him to stay, apologizing. Seeing the girl he loves begging, Takashi caves, hugging her tightly as they slowly accept their new reality. Elsewhere, Takagi is using the school's broadcast system to escape the undead. Kuda asks where they should go, and she throws the question back. He suggests the teacher's room, but Takagi immediately scolds him, saying the teachers will not help. On the bridge, she points out a group of students following Kuta's idea, and as predicted, the teachers have turned. Takagi states flatly that their only goal is to stay alive. Back on the rooftop, Rei is in shock over Hisashi's death, his body lying before them, until she stands to call her father again. Takashi hands her his phone. When her father answers, he recognizes Takashi's number, but not Rei's voice, saying the city is in chaos and that Takashi needs to get Rei to safety before the signal cuts out. Rei breaks down, crying that her father did not recognize her voice. Meanwhile, Kuta asks Takagi if she brought her phone, saying he wanted to call the cops, but Takagi sighs, stating it is pointless as everyone is trying the same, and only important higher-ups will get help, with the government overwhelmed. After this harsh truth, Takagi tells Kuta to run, thinking how she wishes she were with Takashi instead of this chubby pig. In the clinic, 2 students are present, one turned. The school nurse, Shizuka, is slow to realize the danger, casually gathering medicine, her overly bouncy figure swaying with each step. A student tries to hurry her, but she works relaxedly until an undead bursts in, attacking the student while Shizuka watches. As she is about to be eaten, Siko, a senior from the Kendo Club, arrives and cuts the creature down, saving them, but the student has already been bitten. Siko asks his name and gently tells him he knows what is coming, asking if he wants to end it before he turns. With a weak smile, the boy nods. Shizuka protests, but Siko interrupts, saying it is a woman's job to protect a man's dignity, and she grants his final request. Elsewhere, Takagi rigs something together with available tools, guessing Kuta is into military stuff and asking him to build something. Kuta's geek brain kicks in, and ideas flow until undead bang at the door. Takagi panics, but Kuta finishes assembling a makeshift weapon just as one breaks through, and he loads a nail gun. After clearing a path, Kuta asks why she brought him along. She shrugs, saying there is no special reason, and they begin their fight. Back on the rooftop, Rei suggests using a fire hose to hold off the undead. Takashi is impressed, and she credits Hisashi before going quiet, remembering he is gone. Takashi says nothing, but Rei shifts the mood, saying it is time to leave the rooftop, handing him his baseball bat. Inside, Rei wonders where to go. Takashi wants to find survivors and go home. Rei agrees and tells him to call his parents, but Takashi says it does not matter as his dad is out of town and his mom is a teacher. He shows no worry, but deep down he is worried sick. Elsewhere, Takagi and Kuta try to distract the undead, discovering they respond to sound, likely being blind. Meanwhile, Siko and Shizuka head to the teacher's room for car keys. Siko, calm and focused, does not attack the undead, just shoving them aside. Shizuka asks why she does not fight them off. Siko explains it takes time and they cannot get stuck. Shizuka trips, her assets bouncing as usual, and Siko rips her skirt, saying it is too tight. Shizuka protests it was Gucci, but Siko does not care. Suddenly, they hear noise from the office. It is Kuta and Takagi fighting. Kuta yells for help, but Takagi refuses until he points out an undead behind her, and she screams. Everyone rushes over. Kuta is almost out of nails, and Takagi is cornered, but she stumbles upon a trophy shelf and throws trophies, which do not work until she grabs a drill and drives it into an undead's head. The group arrives and clears the room together. Takagi stands frozen, staring at what she did. Rei and Shizuka try to calm her. Siko introduces herself, and everyone follows except Takagi, who says introductions are pointless, yelling that she is the smartest and should not act this way. Siko sees her fear and tells her it is okay to stop pretending. Takagi looks in a mirror, covered in blood, her facade fading as she breaks down crying. They reach the teacher's room to regroup, and when Kuta checks on Takagi, he is taken aback by her glasses and gets scolded for being creepy. They discuss escape plans, deciding to use the school bus to save their families. Just then, Rei sees news on television announcing a global undead outbreak. Takashi grows frustrated, wondering why the government will not explain the situation, but he calmly responds that they probably want to avoid mass panic, as fear leads to chaos. The group grows uneasy, and Rei clings to hope that things may return to normal, but Takagi shuts that down, saying they are facing a pandemic with no cure, like past plagues. Shizuka comments that heat may make the undead rot faster, and Siko asks how long decomposition takes. Shizuka says about 20 days in summer, longer if cold. Takagi asks how they can tell if the undead are rotting, as they still walk and eat, but everyone agrees they must stick together and leave the school. Siko suggests helping survivors, and Takagi adds that the closest exit is through the parking lot gates. The group moves, with Siko advising avoiding fights to save energy and time, and Takagi reminding them the undead react to sound. Suddenly, they hear a girl screaming from a stairwell. Takashi's team jumps into action, with Kuta providing cover and Siko, Takashi, and Rei engaging at close range. They regroup and head to the main lobby, packed with undead. Takagi says hiding is pointless as they only react to noise, but they cannot stay, so someone must test it, and Takashi volunteers. Rei tries to stop him, but Siko stops her, saying they should not stop his bravery. He walks into the crowd, and one undead passes him. He tests Takagi's theory by throwing a noisy object, confirming they are drawn to sound. They move silently through the horde toward the bus, but a survivor knocks something over, drawing the undead. Chaos erupts, and everyone runs. Takagi screams at Takashi for saving the one who caused the noise, but Rei says it does not matter, and they must move. Another survivor is attacked, and his girlfriend refuses to leave him. Takagi tries to stop her, but she shoves past and runs back. Takagi does not understand, and Shizuka softly says some would rather die together in a broken world. Takagi grumbles about logic, but Kuta shields her from an undead, stunning her. Once the path is clear, Shizuka reaches the bus and drives, with everyone piling in, but another group arrives, led by Shido, a teacher Rei despises. A student from Shido's group trips, but instead of helping, Shido kicks him aside and boards the bus with a creepy grin, saying the weak do not deserve safety. With everyone on board, Shizuka drops her airhead act, convincing herself the undead are not people and plows through them. Once out, Shido thanks Siko and suggests she lead, but she declines. He announces every group needs a leader, and Rei whispers to Takashi that he will regret letting Shido on. They reach the highway, seeing the city in chaos. Fires rage, buildings crumble, and beaches are empty. A student speaks up, saying he does not want to be with Takashi. Another says they should have stayed at school. Annoyed, Shizuka slams the brakes, her figure jiggling as she yells at them to shut up. Siko calmly asks the loudmouth what he wants, and he points at Takashi, saying he wants him off the bus. Kuta gets ready to fire his nail gun, but Takagi stops him. Takashi confronts the guy, and when he is about to attack, Rei whacks him with her stick. Shido claps, amused, and gives a speech, presenting himself as the ideal leader, and people buy into it. Rei has had enough and decides to leave, saying she would rather face the undead than spend another second with Shido. Takashi follows, trying to convince her to stay, but before they settle anything, another bus crashes in front of a tunnel, loaded with undead, exploding and blocking the path, separating Takashi and Rei from the others. Siko jumps off to check on them, and Takashi yells they will meet at the police station at 7 p.m. The group splits, and Takashi and Rei enter the tunnel as fire rages behind them. They pause to catch their breath when an undead biker appears behind Takashi. Before it can bite, Rei smashes its skull with a brick. She helps him up, and they use the biker's ride to drive to the city. As they drive, Takashi reflects on how normal everything was hours ago, but now his school friends and everyday life are gone. He has escaped rooftops, made unlikely allies, and survived chaos. Rei breaks the silence, asking if anyone is coming to save them. Takashi shakes his head, saying no one is. Rei sighs, complaining he is always negative, but Takashi shrugs, saying he is being real, as lies do not help. Rei wants to argue, but her raised voice draws nearby undead. Takashi revs the bike, and they speed off. Meanwhile, on the bus, Shizuka is stuck on a bridge. The group fractures, with Siko sticking with the core team and Shido gathering his students, charming girls with fake promises. Back in the city, Takashi and Rei pass through empty streets, where people have fled or turned. They spot a deserted police car and stop. Rei searches for weapons, finding a loaded gun she hands to Takashi. They grab what they can and hit the road, searching for a gas station for fuel. They find one, but it is automated, requiring a credit card. Takashi has no money, and Rei left her wallet at school, leaving them to rob a convenience store. Takashi goes inside and bashes the cash register for money, while Rei waits outside, reflecting on the day's insanity. Suddenly, a large, wild-eyed man grabs her from behind, holding a knife to her neck. He says he watched his family turn and had to kill them, and now he is alone and desperate, wanting a piece of Rei. With sausage-like fingers, he grips her tightly, touching her inappropriately and taunting Takashi, demanding he drop the baseball bat and fill the motorcycle tank, threatening to kill Rei if he tries anything. Takashi tosses the bat aside, letting it clatter loudly to draw attention, then slowly pumps gas. buying time as his hand inches toward the hidden gun. The man rants, raising his voice and loosening his grip. Takashi sees his moment, lunging forward with the gun aimed at the man's chest. The man laughs, daring him to shoot, claiming the gas station will blow, but Takashi, refusing to let the man touch his girl, pulls the trigger. The shot echoes, attracting nearby undead. Rei wants to finish the man off, but Takashi stops her, saying the gunshot did enough and they need to leave. They hop on a bike and speed off, leaving the man bleeding as the undead close in. By the next morning, at the airport, the last private plane preps for takeoff. 2 snipers, mercenaries, cover the landing zone. One, Rika, ranks among the top 5 snipers nationally, hard to secure the area for escaping VIPs. Her partner offers to massage her sore assets, but she brushes him off, more interested in reuniting with her friend Shizuka. Meanwhile, the bus is still stuck on the bridge, with Shido rambling as if on a field trip, telling everyone to stay quiet, hide, avoid contacting family, and trust the team. Not far away, Kuda naps until Takagi wakes him, asking which way to go. Kuda suggests the outskirts, but Takagi points to the sky, toward the airplane, saying many will head to islands or military zones. Kuda guesses Okinawa, and Takagi adds Hokkaido or Kyushu, but reaching them will be hard, as the government may restrict entry to prevent infected outsiders, and everyone will look out for themselves, like Shido, who is building a twisted community by sweet-talking students, especially girls. Kuda offers to handle Shido, but Takagi stops him, saying it is not worth it, and they should focus on crossing the city. She murmurs, hoping Takashi is safe. Kuda teases her for liking him, which she denies, but Siko and Shizuka overhear, looking concerned. Across the city, gangs roam, causing chaos. Takashi and Rei speed through a shootout to avoid capture. Their goal is to cross the bridge, but crowds and violence make it impossible, so Takashi searches for another route. At the main bridge, panic spreads as the undead arrive. The military tries to keep order, but people do not listen, so soldiers block vehicles and threaten punishment. A few students rush the checkpoint, bypassing rules, and are blasted off the bridge by a water cannon. Back on the bus, Shido is unhinged, ranting about leadership. Siko has had enough, calling him a cult leader, and Takagi agrees. She looks at the hypnotized students and says they need to leave to meet Takashi. Takagi hesitantly asks Siko why she seems more worried about Takashi than her family. Siko calmly says she only has her father overseas, so her safety and keeping her promise to Takashi matter. Shizuka asks where everyone lives. Takagi says she and Takashi are neighbors. Kuda laughs, sharing that his family is scattered, his dad in Amsterdam, mom in Paris, grandpa captaining a cruise ship and busy with his grandma, and Shizuka says she is sticking with the group, as her parents are gone, siblings are out of town, and she hates Shido. Everyone agrees and plans to walk to the other bridge. Shido notices and tries to stop them, but Takagi shuts him down, saying her group does not need him. Shido's creepy Joker smile returns as he turns to Shizuka, saying they need a nurse. When he stepped closer, Kuda fired his gun as a warning shot that grazed Shido's cheek. Shido exploded in rage, but Kuda cut him off, stating that Shido always treated him like trash. But now that there was no school and no rules, Kuda could shoot him whenever he wanted. With that, Siko, Shizuka, Takagi, and Kuda stepped off the bus, leaving Shido behind. Elsewhere, Takashi and Rei were stuck at another bridge, caught in a traffic jam. The road ahead was closed, and time was running out as they needed to reach the police station. Suddenly, they heard gunfire, and Takashi recognized the sound immediately. It was Kuda firing his guns, and the group was trapped on the bridge. Takashi revved the engine and went full fast and furious, screaming about family, and launched onto the bridge, landing right where the others were pinned down. Rei jumped into the fight. Takashi tossed his gun to Kuda, and he charged in with Siko. The two teamed up, moving in sync to take down the last of the undead with their teamwork. Once the dust settled, Rei ran straight into Shizuka's arms, burying her face first in her soft, pillowy assets. Takashi checked on Siko, asking if everyone was okay, but both Takagi and Rei disliked seeing her that close to him. Meanwhile, Kuda was ecstatic as he finally had a real gun in his hands. With the sun beginning to set and the police station still far off, they needed shelter, and that was when Shizuka remembered her friend Rika, who had a place nearby, so the group decided to head there, and Takashi drove them one by one on the bike. When it was Shizuka's turn, in her usual clueless charm, she had no concept of personal space, giving Takashi a very up-close and unforgettable experience with a real woman's body. Late that night, the chaos kept growing, Everyone now knew the undead virus was a global crisis, and while the government couldn't handle the flood of people rushing to shelters anymore, the group finally made it inside the apartment, and the girls immediately took over the bathroom, eager to clean up together. For them, it was like a slice of heaven with hot water, clean towels, and actual shampoo as they played with the water, laughing and messing around like it was paradise in the middle of hell, while the guys only got to enjoy the heavenly sounds coming from behind the door. Takashi and Kudo were busy trying to open one of the safes they found in the apartment, and inside, they discovered a stash of ammo, and in the second safe, 3 weapons, causing Kuda's eyes to light up like it was Christmas morning. Kuda, practically drooling, said they were all completely illegal, and with all this firepower now in his hands, he geeked out over the weapons while Takashi casually picked one up and pointed it at him, making Kuda instantly freak out and yell for him not to point guns at people even if they were unloaded. But then they both fell silent as it hit them that they weren't just fighting the undead anymore. It was now a war zone, with Kuda muttering that there would be no more negotiating, and they shot to survive, so they loaded the rifles and stashed the rest of the ammo. Kuda casually mentioned that he trained in the US for a month with an ex-Delta Force soldier, and Takashi stared at him, part impressed and part horrified, saying how happy he was that they were friends, then glanced around the apartment, questioning who Shizuka's friend was to even have all this gear at home. Kuda explained that technically it wasn't illegal to buy the parts separately, as it only became a crime when assembled, adding that Shizuka once said her friend was part of the special assault team, but cops usually lived in dorms, and if this friend had a private apartment like this, then they were seriously loaded. From the bathroom, the girls' laughter got louder, and Kuda looked nervous that the undead might hear their noise, but Takashi reassured him, saying the loudest place that would attract them was the bridge. Meanwhile, at the bridge, people were still trying to force their way into shelters as riots broke out, with protesters screaming for answers about the origin of the virus. The police received direct orders to protect the shelters and the bridge at all costs, and when riders pushed past the barricades, an officer asked for confirmation, and the order was clear. Takashi and Kuda used binoculars to watch, but when it was Kuda's turn, he spotted a news crew and told Takashi to turn on the TV. The news showed the protest where people accused the government of using quarantine as a cover-up to keep the shelters exclusive, and flyers were being passed around claiming the virus was a bioweapon, but no one knew the truth. Takashi frowned at that statement, as while in games and movies it was always some bioweapon, this one felt like a conspiracy theory. Back at the bridge, the undead closed in, and the police opened fire. A woman ran with her daughter, begging the officers not to shoot, but her daughter had already turned, biting her mother, and just like that, following their order, the officers had no choice but to pull the trigger. One man wouldn't stop screaming, accusing the cops of murder, and the police chief confronted him, calmly asking him to back off twice. But when the man refused again, the chief pulled out his pistol and shot him dead, following the order of controlling the chaos at all costs. For a moment, everything went quiet, then the broadcast cut out. Takashi shut off the TV and wanted to get out of there, but Kuda shook his head, telling him it was too risky at night. Suddenly, Shizuka came crawling in from behind, drunk and giggling, and crashed right into Takashi, her generous asset smothering him as she planted a kiss on his cheek. He tried to stop her, but his hands landed somewhere they shouldn't, causing Shizuka to make happy noises before he finally pulled away. Still completely out of it, Shizuka changed her focus toward Kuda and kissed him on the cheek too, causing his brain to fry crispy on the spot. So Takashi sighed and carried her to her room, thinking that if it were a different situation, he would make a teacher-student movie right there. But just as he said that out loud, Rei caught him with Shizuka draped over his back. Rei, also drunk, leaned in with a dazed expression and mumbled something about seeing 3 of him before collapsing to the floor, where she started crying, whispering about her dad and Hisashi. Takashi gently tucked Shizuka into bed, pulled the blanket over her, and just when he thought things couldn't get any more plotful, he spotted Takagi asleep on the couch, her assets barely contained and threatening to spill out. Takashi went to the fridge to grab something to eat, not noticing Siko cooking behind him as she said she was making dinner. When he turned around, he froze, seeing her wearing only an apron, which was a dream costume for all men to see their wives in. Completely calm, Siko explained she couldn't find anything else that fit, so she wore that, and when Takashi stared, saying it was a little risky, she brushed him off, saying she trusted him and Kuda. Just then, loud stomping echoed from the stairs, and when they looked, it was Rei, still drunk and now demanding Takashi's attention. Siko let him go to her, telling him to keep the belly burping quiet. Then Rei rambled about Hisashi, how sweet and affectionate he was, saying Takashi was too blunt, unlike Hisashi, and he stayed quiet, handed her a drink, and asked if she was tired, which angered her, making Rei explode again and call him insensitive, unlike Hisashi, until Takashi finally lost it refusing to be compared to a dead guy and acknowledging that while he'd never be Hisashi, he was the only one she had. Stunned, Rei stared at him in silence, her teary eyes locking onto his, and in that moment she kissed him. While everyone was sleeping safely inside their sanctuary, the outside world kept getting worse, with people panicking and the undead feasting on them. After his kissing session, Takashi checked on Kuda, who was already in position with his sniper rifle, watching the waves of undead pouring into the streets below and approaching her place. Outside, an NPC was desperately trying to fight off the undead with his gun but ended up dying. Siko heard the gunshots and quickly joined the boys to see what was going on. Takashi was already fired up, ready to shoot to save the people below, but Siko stopped him, reminding him that shooting would only attract the undead to their building and that other survivors might see their lights and think it was a safe place. Telling Takashi to look again at how wrecked the city was, Takashi paused, sensing something different about Siko tonight, and she turned to him, saying maybe he wanted to be a hero, but she was just trying to be realistic. So Takashi stepped back onto the balcony to look with the binoculars. Down below, people were doing whatever they could to find shelter, even fighting for it. Among them, Takashi watched one man desperately carrying his daughter from door to door, begging for somewhere safe to stay. She asked her father where Mom was, and the man calmed his daughter, saying Mom was in a better place, then tried knocking on one house for shelter, begging to at least let his daughter in, but no one opened up, so out of desperation, he threatened to break down the door to get his child in, and only then did someone finally answer. But suddenly, out of fear, the homeowner stabbed the man in the heart right there on the porch, and the door slammed shut, leaving the dying man and his little girl alone. She didn't even understand what happened, but even in his last moments, the man calmed his daughter down, telling her to hide. The girl started crying, confused and terrified, begging her father to come back. And her screams began to draw the undead, so Takashi couldn't take it anymore. Kuda already had the sniper aimed and saved her with his shot while picking off the undead to clear a path. Takashi called him out about shooting, but Kuda refused to let the girl die, which Takashi agreed with, so he went downstairs to get her, and on his way he ran into Rei, who wanted to go with him, but Takashi ordered her to guard the gate, and Siko popped up, respecting his determination and wishing him luck before leaving. Rei handed him the handgun, and they shared a quiet moment. Then, with the girl's help, Takashi grabbed his bike and headed out while Kuda watched his back from above. The rescue mission began, and Takashi sped through the streets on his bike, ramming into the undead while Kuda guided him from a distance with precise sniper shots. When Takashi reached the girl, his bike slipped, leaving him without transportation, but he focused on the girl. With Kuda's cover, Takashi managed to get to the girl and a random dog, continuing to clear the area when suddenly an undead popped up, forcing him to use his gun and drawing the undead's attention. Meanwhile, Takagi woke up from the gunfire. Realizing the undead might start swarming soon, she rushed to wake Shizuka, still half-dressed. Shizuka stumbled out of bed and Kuda got a front-row view he'd never forget, but Takagi, unfazed, told him to get ready to leave the building. The girls gathered downstairs, and Siko announced it was time they got in the car to pick Takashi up. As the undead were already following the noise he'd made, Takashi managed to lock the gate behind him to keep them out. The father's body still lay there, so Takashi covered his face and gave him a flower as a sign of respect for his final burial, whispering to the girl that her father died protecting his daughter and was a hero. The girl cried one last time, saying goodbye to her father, then leaned on Takashi, asking what they should do and how they could get out. Takashi didn't have an answer, but then he saw a gate wall where they might escape. Meanwhile, Siko and the others were loading up the gear into the Humvee, but Kuda spotted Takashi and the girl moving on top of the wall, avoiding the undead. He told himself not to look down to calm his nerves, but in the middle of it, the dog licked him, and the little girl said she needed to pee. He asked her to hold it in, but she begged him to let her go, so he let her relieve herself right on his back. As Takashi reached the edge, the Humvee came tearing down the street. Siko stood tall on the roof, looking mommy as fudge, while Kuda covered from below, and Shizuka drove like a maniac straight through the horde. They pulled up just in time, and Siko leaped down, slicing a path open with her sword while Kuda sniped over her shoulder with deadly precision. Takashi scooped up the girl, sprinted, and jumped into the vehicle. Then they headed to the next part of the city to find safety. The next day, the Humvee cruised down by the river. The little girl's name turned out to be Alice, and she immediately clung to Kuda. It was now Kuda and Takagi's turn to keep watch while Takashi, Rei, and Siko finally got some rest. As they neared the end of the river path, Shizuka gently woke everyone up. Rei was the first to open her eyes, and at first, she smiled, realizing she'd been leaning on Takashi. Her smile vanished the moment she saw Siko drooling on his creamy cannoli. Her mood flipped, and she pinched Takashi right in the cheek, snapping him awake, and as he processed what was happening, his heart nearly stopped. especially once Ray pointed out what he had on his lap. Seiko started waking up too, and her apron barely hit anything until she sat up properly. The Humvee came to a stop under the main bridge. Shizuka pulled out some clothes she'd taken from her friend's place, and the girls started changing, while Takashi and Kuda stood guard on the other side. As they waited, Kuda handed a gun to Takashi, figuring he might need it soon, and quickly walked him through how to use it. Just as the explanation wrapped up, the girls finished changing and were now prepared in their own way, leaving Takashi and Kuda both speechless. Ray, now showing off her own gun, caught Takashi's concern but quickly brushed it off, saying Kuda had already taught her how to use it. Takashi and Kuda moved out to check the main street. It was quiet, with no undead in sight or people. The roads were clear, and Shizuka drove the Humvee back up onto the streets. Even though there were no signs of life, Ray quietly hoped her father was still out there. The closest house belonged to Takagi's family, and though Takagi didn't expect much, she still wanted to check. Shizuka drove along the main road while Takashi and Ray stayed on top of the Humvee, keeping watch. Takashi noticed there were no choppers flying over the city anymore, and Ray pointed out they hadn't seen any undead since leaving the river, giving them a feeling of normalcy for a little while, until Kuda spotted a massive horde of the undead straight ahead. Takashi quickly directed Shizuka to another route to avoid the mob, but no matter which street they took, more undead blocked the way. Shizuka started panicking, trying to weave through the streets until they ended up under another bridge, and that was when Ray saw an iron wire stretch across the road, but Shizuka couldn't stop in time. The Humvee halted, and Ray was thrown off the roof, landing hard on the pavement. Takashi jumped down to help. He tried using his gun for the first time but missed his first few shots. Kuda gave him quick instructions, and soon he was landing solid hits as Kuda and Seiko rushed forward to clear a path. As Takashi started getting the hang of the gun, he ran out of bullets, reached into his pocket, but his hands fumbled, and the ammo slipped through his fingers, leaving him empty-handed. Panic set in, and for a moment, he thought it was over, so he pulled Ray close, shielding her, but then remembered she had a gun. With no better option, Takashi used her thick body as a support, resting the gun on her and firing at the undead closing in. Between the bullets and Seiko's elegant, deadly movements, it felt like the animation team went all out animating with one hand for the jiggle physics. Alice, though still a kid, tried to help, her hands trembling as she passed bullets to Kuda, and seeing her like that, Kuda made up his mind to clear the path no matter what. Takagi finally jumped in too, trying to act brave and fire a shot as everyone did their best to fight back. But all the noise drew more undead, and by the time the sun started to set, they still hadn't found a way out while bullets were depleting quickly. Then suddenly, Zeke the dog leaped from the Humvee and started attacking the undead. Seeing that, Takashi knew he couldn't stay back. When Akagi tried to shoot again, Takashi stopped her, took her gun, and told her to wait with Ray. With Seiko at his side, Takashi charged into the crowd, drawing the horde away as bait, making noise to pull the undead from the group, but it barely worked as more kept coming toward the Humvee. Meanwhile, Kuda told Alice to crawl under the wires to safety, promising they'd follow after cleaning up the undead, but Alice shook her head, having seen enough. She remembered her father's promises and how he said everything would be okay, but he still died, and she ended up alone, so she cried, begging not to be left behind and wanting to stay with him no matter what. In that dire moment, just when all hope seemed lost, a group of fully armored soldiers appeared and started firing at the undead, clearing them out. Everyone was saved, and Shizuka ran up to the one who looked like the leader, thanking them for the rescue. Their leader took off her helmet, revealing herself as Takagi's mother. With Takagi's mother and her team saving the group from death, only Seiko and Takashi were left behind. Before parting, Takagi promised she'd wait for them at her house, so the two tried to find a way back to rejoin the others at Takagi's place. The sun hung low in the sky, and with every corner they turned, they ran into more undead. That was when Takashi remembered they passed a vehicle showroom earlier, and he got an idea. At the showroom, Takashi considered grabbing a motorcycle, but when he brought it up, Seiko teased him, saying it was like they were dating, and Takashi caught her meaning and chuckled. They continued searching and eventually found a special vehicle that could run on both land and water. Takashi jumped behind the wheel and headed toward the river. Clearly with a plan in mind, he drove down to the riverbank, and as they descended, the undead began tumbling down the stairs after them. Takashi felt a brief moment of triumph, thinking they were safe. But Seiko quickly pointed out it wasn't that simple, and the undead were still moving, so they drove straight into the river to escape. As the vehicle splashed into the water, a huge wave hit them. Seiko ended up soaked, and Takashi, completely caught off guard, froze, turning into a total robot, unable to form a single coherent word at the sight of such a beautiful figure. With the sun setting and undead still lurking near the riverbank, Takashi steered them toward a small island-like patch in the middle of the river, suggesting they rest there overnight. But then Siko sneezed, her wet clothes making her cold. Takashi, struggling to keep his eyes focused, realized she needed something dry to wear. So without thinking, he grabbed his own sleeveless shirt and handed it to her just until hers dried. When she wore his clothes, Takashi got flustered and excited, unsure how to act in front of Siko. To break the tension, he awkwardly asked if Siko liked someone, and to his surprise, she said she did, then changed the subject by suggesting they leave, and he agreed. They kept moving and arrived at a park. Takashi drove the vehicle into the fountain and rigged it to the central structure, holding down the gas pedal to make it spin in circles like a noisy carousel, creating a sound loud enough to attract the undead to the fountain and lure them away from the streets. Siko understood right away, leaping out of the vehicle and dashing into the horde. Fighting like the true samurai she was, her movements fast, sharp, and deadly, almost like she was enjoying it. That is until she faced a young undead and froze. Takashi saw something was wrong and rushed over. The moment he saw the child, he didn't hesitate, shooting and then pulling Siko away. They take shelter in a nearby shrine where Takashi asks why she froze, but Siko does not answer and collapses onto the floor, silent. So Takashi does not press and instead says they will wait there until morning. He lights a candle, looks around, and finds a real katana resting on a table and still getting no response from her. He also prepares some dry clothes for her and waits behind a curtain while she changes. A heavy silence fills the space, and Takashi understands that Siko needs her space. But then, trying to lighten the mood, he hands her a wet tissue and softly says it is for her to clean up. A small comment that finally makes Siko smile and laugh a little. After a while, Siko speaks and asks Takashi why he did not question her, to which he simply replies that he will not ask if she cannot answer. So slowly, Siko begins to open up. She brings up Takashi's earlier question about liking someone, and while admitting she does have someone she likes, says she does not deserve to, then begins explaining her past. She was once attacked by a stranger in the middle of the night, fought back, broke his legs, and shattered his ribs, but she tells Takashi that is not what haunts her, as what really haunts her is that she enjoyed it, the violence, the dominance, the release, and it made her feel like a monster, which gave her pleasure. Takashi says he kinda gets it, as he also feels a twisted satisfaction when butchering the undead, but Siko insists it is not the same, that she was already broken before any of this when she enjoyed crippling a human's life, and earlier in the park, when she saw that young undead, she froze because it reminded her the truth that she is a monster, no different from the thing in front of her. Takashi does not have the perfect words, but he holds her hand, then gently kisses her before staying with her through the night. The next morning, as they are getting ready to leave, a fresh wave of undead starts closing in on the shrine. Takashi calls out to Siko, but she is still lost in thought, trapped by what they did the night before, so he does what he feels he must, holding her and gripping her tightly in a way that stirs the woman inside her in order to bring back the Siko who never hesitated. It works, and she whispers her thanks while the fire returns to her eyes. However, unlike before, this time with a real katana in hand, the true monster inside Siko awakens. She fights clean, fast, and deadly, relishing every strike, cutting through the horde like a storm, and once they are clear, Takashi leads her toward Takagi's house through the back door. There, Zeke starts barking, and the others rejoice at their return, not knowing that Takashi has unleashed and accepted the darkness inside Siko during their passionate night together. It feels like the universe is on Takashi's side. After spending a night with Siko, he now finds himself in yet another unexpected moment with Rei and her whole situation. As Rei is about to get a back massage after falling off the Humvee the day before, and Shizuka asks Takashi to help hold Rei during the session, which gets him to see and hear all her happy noises. After the treatment, Rei kicks him out of the room, scolding him and complaining that her chest still hurts because of him. Downstairs, Takashi runs into Siko, who has now changed into a yukata. Things are still a little awkward between them, but they both laugh it off, and then Alice appears. Takashi tells her he is glad she is okay now, remembering how she cried herself to sleep next to Shizuka, but the peace breaks quickly when voices start rising as Takagi and her mother are arguing. When Takashi asks what is going on, Takagi snaps at him, annoyed that he still calls her by her family name. Takagi's mother apologizes for her daughter's attitude, but Takashi says it is fine and personally thanks her for letting everyone stay at the house. Meanwhile, Takagi approaches Kuda, who is still working on his guns, and tells him straight that they cannot stay here much longer as the house is running low on resources, with water and electricity already stretched thin. At the same time, Takagi's mother is telling Takashi the same thing, that the military has taken control of utilities, stepping in without waiting for government orders. And as for the people seeking shelter at her estate, she says only those willing to fight can remain, asking Takashi to help Takagi understand this and make her see reason. Back in the garage, one of the adult workers spots Kuda with his guns and tells him that students are not allowed to handle weapons. Kuda looks like he is about to crumble under the man's pressure, but Takagi steps in right away, defending him, and the man backs off, realizing he is facing his master's daughter. Afterward, Takagi points out how adults still see them as just students, and no matter what they have been through, the grown-ups will not take them seriously. The group gathers for a meeting in Rei's room since she still cannot walk, and Takagi refuses to waste more time, asking everyone directly whether they should stay together or split up. Hearing that, Siko understands that under the protection of Takagi's powerful family, there are only two options, that they either join in or get out. Takashi asks why they have to split up at all, and not just stay there and rely on Takagi's parents, knowing they have the resources and security, but then Takagi snaps, shouting that her parents are great people, great leaders, so great that they forgot their own daughter, as all they care about is protecting their image and their followers. Takashi grabs her by the collar, eyes burning with frustration, and tells her she should be grateful that she still has parents and a home while the rest of them do not even know if their families are alive and kicking. His words hit hard, and Takagi falls silent, so Takashi lets go before she can say anything else. Then a loud commotion erupts outside. It is Takagi's father arriving with a container truck surrounded by his followers, people he has led into the estate. He drags out one of the undead and introduces it to everyone as his former friend, then, to everyone's shock, decapitates it in front of everyone to prove a point, declaring that if they want to survive, everyone must fight, even if it is against their former loved ones. Silence falls, and no one dares object to him. Back inside, Kuda finally speaks, muttering that a sword is not enough, as while it can cut through bone, after 3 bodies it becomes useless. However, in contrast, Siko replies calmly that she believes swords can work if they are of good quality and in skilled hands. Kuda suddenly lashes out and storms off. Takashi chases after him but loses him in the hallway, and Alice, noticing the panic, offers to help. Knowing that she and Kuda are friends, Takashi nods and lets her go, believing that the little girl can calm him down, but minutes later, Alice comes running back panicked, saying that Kuda is in trouble. Elsewhere, Takagi searches for Kuda too, but instead finds Siko sitting silently by the koi pond. Takagi, never one to hold back, makes a comment, so Siko stands up, saying she is not in the mood, and Takagi tells her the truth that they will not have a luxury of calm for long as their peaceful days are ending, adding that in the end they will have to fight either alongside her parents or as their own group. Meanwhile, back with Kuda, some of the adult workers have caught him and are trying to take his guns, saying students are not allowed to be armed, but Kuda begs, saying that the weapons are all he has, and the situation grows tense as the workers are ready to take him by force. Takagi arrives just behind them, but before he can step in, Takagi's father appears, demanding to know what is going on. The workers explain that Kuda's weapons are illegal and students should not have access to them. So Takagi's father looks directly at Kuda and asks for his name, with trembling hands and a shaky voice. Kuda gives his full name, even his class, and begs him not to take his guns, saying that they are the only thing he is good at. Takagi's father has just one question and asks Kuda his worth. Before Kuda can answer, Takashi steps forward and shouts that Kuda's worth is that he can protect his daughter. Recognizing Takashi, the man pauses and listens as Takashi continues that Kuda has saved Takagi more times than he can count. Then Siko adds her voice, testifying that she has seen Kuda's tremendous gun skill firsthand, and one by one, the rest of the group steps forward, all of them standing behind Kuda. Lastly, Takagi steps up and, with a steady, unwavering voice, declares that only Kuda and her friend have ever protected her, not her perfect parents. Days later, behind the scenes, one of the students who had been with Shido is still lurking around and reports everything about Takashi's group back to Shido, who is now comfortable playing the leader of his twisted, little degenerate cult. Back in the survivor tent, Takagi stops sugarcoating things, bluntly stating that the government has no idea what is happening, so they're covering it all up to avoid mass panic. The adults do not take what she said well, and they argue with her, refusing to believe that the dead are actually walking to them. It is just some new virus, something that still has a cure. Takagi challenges them, questioning that if they are so sure, then who among them will step up and prove it? To no one's surprise, no one answers and no one even tries. Takagi states that she agrees with her father's policy that no one should get bitten, and if they encounter the undead, they have to be killed on sight, but the adults still are not ready to face reality. One woman claims it is all a power play by Takagi's parents, that they are using fear to control the masses and using dumb students to provoke others into fighting the undead, which she believes to still be sick but innocent people. Takagi, Kuda, and Takashi can barely believe what they are hearing. They say nothing, deciding it is pointless to argue with people who refuse to open their eyes. Initially, Takagi only wanted to explain, but now she is furious, muttering that these people just do not want to see the truth. Kuda says he kind of understands, as people tend to ignore what they do not want to deal with, that even when they know the truth, deep down, they would rather pretend it is not real. Takashi gets it too, as it is like when he did not want to accept Rei being happy with her ex, but Takagi tells him that it is not the time for wishful thinking. Kuda agrees that the real issue is that the adults keep trying to make things feel normal, even though nothing in the world is normal anymore. Takagi adds that they just cannot admit their own mistakes, and Kuda nods, as everything they have been through from the school to now has taught him that learning from failure is the only way to move forward. Takashi acknowledges his own mistakes too, but as he speaks, Takagi and Kuda smile at him, telling him the group has already decided that he is their leader now. Meanwhile, Siko meets Takagi's father, who in the past was the student of her father, whose family comes from a long, honorable lineage. Takagi's father presents her with a katana, and Siko immediately recognizes its value. She tries to respectfully return it, but he laughs and hands it over anyway, as it is a gift of gratitude for her father and for saving Takagi. Siko humbly says she was not the only one and that Takagi has also been a crucial part of their survival, stating that if he truly wants to protect his daughter, he should stand by her side, and adding that if he really wants to give the katana away, he should give it to Takashi. Takagi's father agrees, but he believes that Takashi still is not stable enough to lead. Elsewhere, Takashi questions whether he is the right person to lead, and that is when Rei enters the room and tells him it suits him, saying that he is a good man. Takashi scoffs, saying that he is just surviving, just helping out like a support character in a game where Siko, Kuda, and Rei are the fighters, Takagi is the brain, Shizuka is the healer, and Alice is just Alice. Rei laughs, saying that girls usually go for the cute or affectionate types and Takashi is neither of them, but she admits that sometimes he is clueless while sometimes he is brave, adding that he does not always have a reason but he still does the right thing, which she likes. Then Rei confesses that she regrets not seeing his worth sooner, and now she does not want to leave his side, even if someday Takashi falls for someone else, as she still wants to be there beside him. Her honesty catches him off guard, and the steamy tension between them rises. Takashi pushes her down on the bed, and things get intense and sweaty between them. After a while, she quickly gets up and says she needs to see Shizuka for a checkup, asking him to think about what she just said. As she opens the door, Siko is waiting outside and mentions that she gave them a little privacy for some plot progression. Knowing that Takashi was going all out, Rei brushes her off, still feeling the heat and leftover vibe from the night Siko and Takashi spent together. Meanwhile, Shido and his cult make their move. One of the girls seduces a guard, opening a path into Takagi's family's mansion. At the same time, Takashi decides to search for Rei's parents. He does not know where to start, as his own father is in another city and his mother had been at school when everything went down, but he knows that Rei's dad is a police officer and her mom might still be hiding at home. Takagi's father warns Takashi that his family and group plan to leave in 2 days, as it is too dangerous to stay longer. Takashi promises they will be back before then, but if they are not, he tells them to just move on without them. When Takashi and Rei are about to leave, Siko steps in, deciding to go with them, and the others also come to say goodbye, but before they can do anything, Rei freezes. Shido has arrived, escorted by one of the guards who thought he was friendly, and he is still full of smug arrogance. The guard praises him as a teacher who saved his students, but behind that fake smile, Shido is nothing more than the product of a broken home and a twisted upbringing. In the past, he was paid off by a local corrupt mayor who hated Rei's father for being full of justice, so Shido was ordered to ensure that Rei failed a class, and since that day, Rei hates him deeper than hell itself. The moment she sees him, she charges, gun in hand, knife pointing, ready to stab him in the face. Shido goes quiet and asks Rei when she learned how to use a gun, to which she replies coldly that it was her father who taught her, the same man whose reputation Shido destroyed. Rei reveals that she stayed quiet all this time because her father promised he would bring Shido to justice, but now with him right in front of her, she is ready to send him off to hell. At that moment, full of commanding aura, Takashi's father walks in and tells Rei that this is a free world, so if she wants to kill Shido dead, she can do it. Takashi tries to stop her, but Siko holds him back, saying that this is Rei's decision. Shido tries to manipulate her, telling her to pull the trigger so she will live with the guilt of being a murderer, but being the bigger person, Rei does not fall for it. She says even if he dies here, it will not give him any worth, as he will still be worth less than dirt, and she walks away with her head high while Takagi's father gives the order that Shido and his cult are to get back on their bus and leave the mansion. Somewhere far beyond the walls of the estate, chaos only escalates as countries blame one another and tensions rise. Among the decisions the leaders make, some decide it is time to go back to the Stone Age, and they shoot nuclear weapons at each other. Back on land, Shizuka suddenly lights up as she remembers her friend's phone number, the one with the apartment, the Humvee, and a stash of guns, Rika. To her relief, Rika answers, and Shizuka immediately bursts into tears, overwhelmed that her friend is still alive and starts rambling about everything she has been through. Rika, currently stuck at the airport, barely gets a word in before an explosion lights up the sky where missiles detonate midair. A blinding flash spreads across the country, causing power to go out, signals to die, and machines to fail. Takagi suspects it is an EMP, a high-altitude nuclear explosion, and explains the science that the gamma rays create electrons from the atmosphere, triggering the Compton effect, and the Earth's magnetic field spreads the pulse everywhere, or in simple terms, every electronic device is fried crispy. The impact is immediate, and Shido's bus loses control and crashes at the end of the road, tearing down a barricade, leaving Takagi's family estate exposed to the undead. Takagi's father quickly calls for a plan. Takagi points out that older vehicles, especially ones with minimal electronics, could still work if their parts are replaced, and her calm response and quick thinking make her father proud. At the gates, the undead begin to surge. Takagi's father orders them locked, and Kuda helps take down one that gets too close, prompting one of the adults who had once tried to take his gun to apologize. Meanwhile, Takagi's mother prepares for battle in her own way. Dropping all of her swag, she tears her dress at the thighs for better mobility, and Kuda cannot help but be a witness to this hot mommy. She gives Takagi a gun, revealing that she once trained in executive defense while working on Wall Street and that she's even better than her husband, then asks Kuda to teach Takagi how to use it, and he lights up with excitement. The front gate finally breaks down with the undead flooding in. The group retreats into the building, while the other survivors, still clinging to the belief that this is just some curable virus, finally face the horrifying truth and are feasted on. Takashi takes the right flank, Siko moves gracefully through the horde, and when one gets too close, Rei steps in to cover her. From above, Kuda snipes as always, and Alice also steps up, bravely carrying ammo that is heavier than her whole body. But despite their best efforts, or how well they fight, the undead just keep coming. Takagi's father organizes those still willing to stand and fight, while women and children are moved to a bus for evacuation. A guard reports that another group that traveled to the next city is safe and working on reinforcing their gate. Takagi wants to stay and defend the house, but her father refuses, as he knows the gates will not hold and the undead will get in one way or another. He tells Takashi to be strong and asks Kuda to protect his daughter, as Takagi will leave with the group. Takagi protests, but her mother slaps her, telling her to wake up and that they have responsibilities there, and sending her away is the one thing they can still do to protect her as her parents. Alice gets a gentle hug from Takagi's mother, who tells her to be a good girl, stay safe, and listen to what she is told. Takagi gives her parents one last look and says goodbye before heading towards the garage where the Humvee is being repaired. Back on the front lines, Takagi's father gives his final command and charges into the blood-filled battlefield. At the garage, the mechanic explains that the Humvee is built to withstand an EMP and that whoever modified it was insanely prepared. However, a few parts still need fixing, so the group has no choice but to wait and survive. Until the end, Takagi's parents fight side by side, covering each other, knowing full well there is no way out. After a while, the Humvee is ready, and Takagi tells Shizuka to get in. Mechanic signals, and the engine roars to life, so everyone piles in. Takagi invites the mechanic to come with them, but he declines as he has already saved the one person he needed to Takagi. With no time for heartfelt goodbyes, Shizuka slams the gas, and the Humvee charges forward, plowing through the sea of undead, leaving Takagi's parents behind, letting them know that their daughter will be okay. As the sun rises, Rei stares out the window, still thinking of those left behind. Takagi, holding back her emotions, tells everyone not to talk about it, but Kuda snaps and urges her to stay strong. She knows that he is right and that there is no time to mourn. Takagi hears the engine and realizes that the Humvee is not fully repaired, but Akashi tells Shizuka to keep driving. He tells them that he still has to find his mother and Rei's parents, and afterward, they will search for Rika too. With a road full of uncertainties and the undead in every corner, death is a certainty, but with guns in their hands, godly jiggle physics, and the power of friendship, together they move forward to stay alive.